Hey folks, I'm Mark Tindall, lead pastor at Blue Earth Vineyard, and I'm glad to have you with us for week 2 of your Leap of Faith group. It's an exciting time in our church. We're all trying to pull together to learn what it means for people like you and me, just regular people, to follow and have a relationship with an invisible God. Hebrews 11 is an interesting chapter of a book that talks just about that. It talks about, some 20 people by name and multitude of people besides them who live this kind of life. Their whole life is based on faith. It's an interesting story from Jesus' life. It's in John 6, and a bunch of people were asking Jesus, what do we have to do to, really get in with God? To really get the thing that you're trying to teach us. They say the specific question is this, what are the works we have to do? And Jesus says this: the work of God is to believe in the one that he sent. The work of God is to trust Jesus. The work of God is to sort of give up trying to control everything apart from God. It's to fall in line with all that God has for you. So here you go. Let's bring it home, okay? You know The Office? I love The Office. You remember that one scene where Jim, who has moved away from the Scranton branch, stole some of Dwight's stationery. And he says this. I'm going to read it to you here. He goes, "I don't have a ton of contact with Scranton branch anymore, but before I left, I took a box of Dwight's stationery, and from time to time, I send Dwight faxes from himself, from the future." Like this one. Dwight, at 8 a.m. today, someone poisons the coffee. Do not drink the coffee. More instructions will follow. Cordially, future Dwight. And of course, Dwight, runs around the office, knocking coffee out of Stanley's hand. And basically, what Dwight is doing there is he is putting his faith in this concept that he can get a fax from the future. He thinks that future Dwight is faxing him, and so he acts, knocking the coffee out of Stanley's hand. That's what faith is. It's when you act based on what you believe. And frankly, I think everybody acts on what they believe. You might be interested to know that verse 6 of Hebrews 11 says this, that without faith, it's impossible to please God. Whatever God's into, we know this, he's into people actually taking him at his word, people building their lives on him. And that's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about that the rest of our time together. We're using this ancient tradition called Lent to do a leap of faith. Each of us trying to say, hey, we're going to read some scripture. We're going to pray big things. We're going to lift up our 5 most in need of prayer friends that we've got. We're going to pray for the church. We're going to fast. We're going to set aside this time in a special way by denying ourselves one appetite so that we could kind of sharpen our appetite for God. The whole thing is called Stranger Lives, and it comes from verse 13 of Hebrews 11. And the idea is this, when it talks about these people who have placed their faith in God, it says this, all these people were still living by faith when they died. They didn't receive the things that they were promised. They only saw them, and they welcomed them from a distance, admitting that they were foreigners and strangers on earth. Seems like people who place their faith in God live a really different kind of life. They act based on something that people around them, the world, can't see. They have faith.